Hello and welcome to another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 59. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. Bandwidth for this episode is brought to you by Action Target. Today I have with me Chad Wallace joining once again. Thanks, Chad, for joining me.
Yep, anytime.
Yeah, have you been faring? Staying warm?
Trying to. It's gotten pretty cold here for us West Coast people, meaning it's been down to, 25.
Yeah, it was a very sharp drop, so my body is just not used to it. I didn't get a chance to really thicken my winter coat and put on some extra layers of blubber, so it's just like brr.
Yeah, it's probably colder over there than here, so.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been in the I think the low 20s and even getting into the teens, and a couple of nights it's dipped down to single digits. So it's kind of been preventative as far as going out and doing any shooting because shooting in the cold is not fun. I did manage to. I sold some guns, did some private sales. That should be my freedom and my right as a citizen. Washington's trying to take away that right. In fact, I believe this week that new law goes into effect, so it would have been extra red tape for me to do some private sales. So I took advantage of the time and was able to sell a couple over the Thanksgiving break. Gives me some extra cash to start some new builds that I'm excited for. So, what did you do in guns this week, bud?
Let's see, I ordered some parts and bought some ammo, and
Nice.
then carried, but I do that all the time anyway, so that's pretty much it. I ordered a free float tube for an AR, and then I saw that one of the local accessory stores had a really good deal on 9mm, so I went down there and bought a bunch.
Nice. Yeah, I of course I did some shopping for my loved ones as you should, but Black Friday and Cyber Monday are great times of the year to finally get some of those parts that you've been kind of holding off on. So I picked up a bolt carrier group from DSG Arms, and that was I think $99, and it's carpenter steel, the magnetic, all the special stuff that's supposed to make it good. It's mil spec. So I got that, and then I finally bought bottom metal for my Remington 700. So I got that from Pacific Tool and Gauge. So that was I think on sale for 130, 140 somewhere in there. And then I just noticed that the Seekins drop bottom metal was on sale at DSG Arms, and that was a little bit higher. That's like $200, $209. But it's really nice because it's got like a push button magazine release. So I wish I got that instead, but saved some money on the PTG. And my gunsmith actually has installed a lot of Pacific Tool and Gauge bottom metals, and so he's pretty confident with those, and they've worked pretty well for him. So buying parts, I was definitely doing that too. I wish that it's hard for me to tell my family and friends like, oh hey, if you need ideas, if you want to buy me something for Christmas, which of course you don't have to, but I can't give them a list of these like special parts that they have to make an account on Brownells or Midway or any of these tactical shops to buy me. So it's just a lot easier to just buy them for me to begin with, and then everybody gets dollar store Christmas cards. Just kidding. But seriously,
Yeah,
dollar store Christmas cards, that's the way to go.
yeah, I understand because some of the stuff I want, it's way easier just buy it yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
people want to know what I want. I find stuff on Amazon and just say, get it from there.
Yep.
Use the affiliate link if I can convince them to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try on the next couple shows before Christmas is bring up some items that would make great Christmas gifts, being that they're not all that expensive, and easy to locate, and then would make great like stocking stuffers or just like fairly inexpensive gifts. So I'm going to try and sprinkle a few in on this episode and the next one, and maybe the show before. Looking at November here. See, December. The show before Christmas, like the 23rd or 22nd. I might do like a microcast on just like really quick. Here's like 4 or 5 items that would make great stocking stuffers, and just really hit on them quickly. Like spend less than 10 minutes on each one. I know when I say microcast, I tend to go on for an hour, and I apologize for that. I know the last one I did was still an hour after editing, and I was like, wow, I must be long-winded and not really realize it.
Yeah,
So I will do a quick one for Christmas.
I didn't say that much at the microcast, so it must have been all you.
Yeah, it must have been all me, man. Way to go. So I don't know. We don't have any more announcements other than we're always looking for guests. Chad was a guest at first. He's been on the show more regularly now. He's doing an awesome job, and really appreciate that. So if you're also a guest and you want to come on the show, it doesn't have to be all the time. It can be just a single guest appearance. Give me an email, and I'll help get that set up, because it's really fun and good community involvement with your fellow firearms enthusiasts. So just shoot me an email at cross@firearmsradio.tv, and we'll get that set up. So that's the announcements for this week. Let's get right into the new product spotlight. I've got some sweet tactical stuff to talk about today. The price is not so sweet. It's not really Christmas friendly, but they're awesome. They're tactical, and they're not like corny tactical either. So let's get right into the first one, and this is all over Facebook right now, and I'm getting blasted with emails. Every gun writer seems to be getting one of these to review, except me. But it's the CMMG MK47 Mutant, and what this is like an AK-47 AR-15 hybrid. And I know what you're thinking, like, well, there's already AR-15s chambered in 7.62 by 39. There's already AK-74 is chambered in 223. So why another hybrid? Well, this one, they call it the Mutant because it's kind of never been seen before, the way that they chose to combine these elements together. I mean, it looks like an AR, and it takes AK-47 magazines. That's nothing new, but the way they kind of made subtle like optimizations and beefed it up in certain spots kind of makes it more of a, when you think of like a mutant or like an ogre, just kind of more up to the task of the round. Have you gotten a chance to take a look at this, Chad?
Yeah, I looked at it yesterday, but I was looking at it again today, and I was looking at it thinking, this is interesting. I like how they're not using converted AR mags. They have their, it looks like they're using a standard AK mag, which tend to work, as opposed to, I've heard lots of problems with the AR converted 7.62 by 39 mags. And it looks kind of like an AR. They just kind of chopped the mag well off and put one of those Eastern Bloc heel mag releases right in front of the trigger guard, which looks like actually a good place to put it. Looks kind of cool, though, I must admit. I think you were saying something about it's built more on the AR-10 style 308 bolt system, so it should hold up pretty good.
Yeah, so it's built from a billet, so it's not forged. It's a billet of aluminum, 7075 T6, so just aircraft grade aluminum, and it's got a AR-10 bolt carrier that's been kind of shortened to 8 inches, and it retains all the material on the bolt face of the original AR-10 for added durability and strength. So I wish I had examples to physically show you, but the AR-15 bolt face and the AR-10 bolt face are drastically different. The AR-10 has much more steel or material, I guess aluminum, much more aluminum around the lugs, So that means it's going to have more positive lockup and really take more of a beating, as opposed to the AR-15, which has a lot kind of less material cut around those lugs. So it's a direct impingement, direct gas impingement system, which I think a lot of people will go, well, how could you say this is like the best of both worlds if it's not piston driven like the AK-47? Because that keeps all the dirt and stuff out of your chamber and your receiver. But they chose to go with the direct impingement. So that's unfortunate. I don't know if it was physically possible for them to do a gas piston system, but considering the price points that they have these, I kind of come to expect it. Because if I was to get a gas piston AR-15, these were the price points I'd be looking at for one of those. So, maybe it's just not feasible for them. So they offer the MK47 in like 3 tiers. So they have the entry model, which is called the Mutant T, and that MSRP is for $149.95. I'm sorry, $1499.95. So just shy of $1,500. So it's entry level, designed to be budget friendly. It's got just a regular M4 collapsible stock on there. Those plastic M4 ones that are probably about $1 to make, if that. And that are all over the place, and then you can swap that out for whatever AR-15 stock you see fit. So that's just kind of, and it looks like it's just got a regular A2 pistol grip on there as well. The next tier up is the MK47 Mutant AKM, and that's got a price of $1,649.95. And so that gives you it looks like a Magpul CTR stock, collapsible stock, and it looks like a Magpul MOE grip. And then the next one up is the MK47 Mutant AKM2, and that actually has a Geisley SSA trigger installed in it. So it's a crisp 2-stage trigger, and then it has the Magpul stuff on it as well. And so actually those two look like they have a different muzzle brake than the entry model. Looks like that might be just like a regular A2 style muzzle brake on the first one. And the second 2 tiers, the more expensive ones, looks like they might have some kind of was that a Surefire? Let's see.
Yeah, I can't really tell.
No, it's a CMMG SV brake. Of course, all these are threaded for 5/8 by 24. So that's where the price difference comes from. It seems like a pretty big jump for just putting on some Magpul furniture and changing out the muzzle brake. The barrel is 16.1 inches with a medium taper, and it's got a .311 groove diameter and 6 groove rifling. And the handguard is the CMMG RKM15 key mod. So that's something else you're paying a little bit more money for, is the new hotness. Picatinny is out or just kind of put to the side, and key mod is the next popular modular accessory mounting system. Have you ever played with key mod, Chad?
I have not. I keep thinking I'm going to get myself a key mod upper, and then I just never do. I just, in fact, the forehand I just bought is just a standard, bolt-on rail if you want it with holes in it. I, haven't really messed with it. I know there's a company somewhat locally here that started making like 7-position rail key mod forehands, and I was looking at getting one of those, but I just was like, I don't think I really need one for the rifle I'm putting it on, and my SBR already has a railed forehand on it, and so I'm like, well, I don't really need one yet, and they'll probably come out with something else in a couple years anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I really would want one, honestly, is because Noveske makes some pretty sweet rail covers just for key mod. I think they're kind of futuristic looking, and better than the rail covers that are offered like by Magpul, just in the looks department. That's like the only reason why I'd want one. Like I found so many key mod like rail sections on the ground because they've come loose because people didn't like wrench them down hard enough, and then they came out under recoil or whatever. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon because I mean, unless it was like dramatically less weight than standard Picatinny, which it probably is saving some ounces there, and ounces turn into pounds, but I don't know. But back to this though, it's got CAMMG's lifetime quality guarantee, so they'll repair, replace, or substitute parts at no charge to the customer if the defect is in material or workmanship. Um, and then it's I forgot the barrel. I didn't mention the twist rate of the barrel is 1 and 10. And every one of these comes with a Magpul AK-47 30-round magazine. So I think they're cool. I think that the price point kind of keeps that out of the hands of most of us because not a lot of us can afford to drop almost $1,700 on a rifle, and if we did, we would pick like something else, like heck, a Tavor or something. When you can get it like 3 or 4 AK-47s for that price, maybe a little less, maybe about 3 or 4.
Yeah, I completely understand. I noticed they weigh in the Mutant T weighs 7 pounds. It says unloaded. I didn't, and the AKM2 or whatever they said weighs like 7.2 pounds. So it's not like they're super light or super heavy. So
No, I mean, go ahead.
Like you said, for the price, I just probably wouldn't pick one up. I kind of like the design, so maybe in a few years the price will come down, or you can buy a lower and
Yeah.
an upper, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before, but if this was gas piston, like bam, I'd be like right in there. Like that would be a sweet price for something that had these new features, or not really new features, but combined features in one platform, and didn't have all that carbon coming into your chamber, and was more reliable like the AK-47. That's really the heart of the beast, is that you can open up the disc cover and drop a ham sandwich in the action, and it's still gonna chew through every single round and your sandwich like reliably. Whereas this, I think it's not really shaking some of the weak points of both platforms. It's almost like combining some of the worst points of both platforms. I mean, it looks like a great, reliable gun for most of us, but if you're going to premise all your marketing on, like, the since the dawn of the Cold War, or the strife between AR-15 owners and AK-47 owners, and well, our rifle is accurate past 200 yards, unlike yours. Well, ours is more reliable, and some dust and sand isn't going to gunk up our action like yours. Trying to kind of merge those two and create like a better firearm from both of them. I don't think they really hit it. I think it's kind of more a little bit more marketing hype, and the fact that, oh hey, it's an AR-15 that's built bulkier with some AR-10 components. And I mean, I think if you don't have an AK-47, you're an AR-15 fan, you've got some disposable income, and you never really own any AR-15s under $1,000. You've just got like that additional tier of like, well, if I'm gonna buy a gun, it's gonna be like a really good one, so it's gonna be above $1,000 each time. You're not buying DSA arms or DPMSs or Bushmaster carbons. You're buying like nicer stuff. This is up your alley. If you're like me, and you try and get the most bang for your buck, you might not want to get one of these
Yeah.
until the prices come down. When demand kind of starts to level out a little bit.
Yeah, I'll stick with maybe buying 4 AKs.
Yeah, I would be very interested, however, to see an accuracy test, see just how far you can push the 7.62 by 39 round in this platform, since it's got the ergonomics of the AR-15 and the whole barrel gas system. If you're able to get MOA out to 300 yards, I think that's kind of almost impossible with a standard AK-47, like something like a Wasser 10 or whatnot. But if you're able to push that with this, I think they should really be doing that and showing that up front as part of their marketing focus, as opposed to just this kind of like tongue-in-cheek propaganda, like, comrade, look at this. It's mutant. It's MK47. I'm sure FPS Russia is going to be like the poster child for this gun. But I'd really like to see some like objective accuracy tests, out past 200 yards with this rifle. So if you're interested in, what were you going to say, bud?
Go ahead. I was going to say, yeah, and then compare it with an AK with the next product you're going to bring up here.
Yeah, exactly. So just to make sure, give you guys the link for that, you want to go to CMMG's website. That's www.cmmginc.com, and then it's right on the front page because that's their new poster child. I think that the graphics behind it, going with the whole like modern Russia propaganda thing is interesting. I like that, but I really would like to see some performance on it. So the next product also has something similar to share, and that is it's a trigger for the AK-47, and it's made by TacCon. And TacCon, if you're not aware, is the really awesome makers of the AR-15 trigger that makes it able for you to shoot like really fast, like faster than like bump fire, but more accurate and more controlled. It's basically got like a reset assist that gives it like it's got like a proprietary semi-auto mode and then assisted reset mode and then a regular fire position. So they made one for the AK-47, and I'm sure a lot of people were clamoring for that. It's a very neat little design. It looks like it's drop-in with little gunsmithing needed, if not at all. It's kind of an interesting design of the trigger. It's kind of nice, light shoe. It seems kind of narrow. So basically, the MSRP on this is $349, so $350. It's made by TacCon. Their website is tacconusa.com, and the assisted reset fire position provides a positive reset that is dramatically reduced in travel length, so it reduces the split times between shots, and that's how it allows you to shoot much faster. Granted, you still have to there's a learning curve to really getting the faster shots per second and getting that fire rate up with your finger. So it's achieved by transferring the force from the bolt carrier through the trigger assembly, instantaneously assisting the trigger back onto the sear. So as a result, it gives the firearm the fastest reset possible. So now it's available for the the AK-47, and it's called the Raptor. And it's a 4.5 pound trigger pull weight with 0 take up and no over travel. And they stress that it is ATF approved. It's not an NFA part, and it is not a bump fire system. So the shooter must pull the trigger one time every time the round is fired. I think this is awesome. AK-47 triggers aren't bad, like Tapco triggers. They're not horrible, but watching some of the videos of people shooting this Raptor in their AK-47 makes it almost seem like they're shooting an actual, like, legitimate AK-47 on full auto. Just the fire rate that you're able to achieve, of course, with practice and and fast fingers. What do you think?
You know, I actually anything to improve an AK trigger is good with me. Uh, but the other thing that I'm surprised they didn't mention is what is it? You have to have so many U.S. made parts on like an imported AK. I think one of the compliance things, and
Yeah.
it's made in America, so you could drop this trigger pack in, and it would help with your compliance issues, and you'd have a way better trigger.
Yeah. Maybe they. Yeah. Usually there's always that kind of statement at the bottom saying that this qualifies as one of those U.S. made parts to make it compliant. Isn't it like 91R or something like that?
Yeah, 922R. It's something with an R in it.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously this would qualify. So if you were building an AK or your AK did not have a Tapco or other U.S. made trigger in there, you can get this, put it in there, and that would count as one of those parts to make it compliant for the U.S.
Yeah, I thought that was that. I'm surprised they actually didn't say that because that's an extra marketing ploy for them. But yeah, and drop in, that makes it really nice. It looks like kind of like an AR trigger. You pull a few pins, or on an AK, it's probably screws or something, and drop it in.
Yep. Yeah,
And
and unlike, I mean, the AR-15 obviously has a safety selector that from its predecessor, the M16, there was a third setting where you can set it to full auto and then safe and then, single fire. Obviously, there is no selector on an AK-47, so unlike its counterpart, the Raptor only has two settings, which is safe and semi-auto with the assisted reset. So it's a little different from its AR counterpart because the cyclic rate is lower, and that's kind of like the nature of the AK-47, like full auto M16 versus full auto AK-47. Like the cyclic rates are way different. It's a heavier round, and just the way everything, the internals and the spring systems are built, you're going to burn through a mag way quicker on an M16 than an AK-47. But the guy with the AK-47 is going to have a bigger smile on his face, and that's what matters.
are you sure about that? I've
Well,
shot both.
I think it'd be pretty even, but I think if I were, what, I can't say that because I think both guys should be grinning ear to ear. But TechCon states that the user will most likely see a top-end rate of 400 to 500 rounds per minute using this trigger, which is still pretty good, considering that's that's shy of 10 rounds per second. So that's still pretty good. So if you've got an AK-47 and you want to upgrade the trigger and you don't mind dropping $350, this would be right up your alley, and I'm very interested in seeing more people review it. They've got a bunch of YouTube personalities that have been trying it out. So Little Red Danger, and let's see who else. I think I saw Coleon Noir with shooting it. I might be wrong, but it's gonna get more popularity, and you're gonna see it a lot more among the AK-47 community. So keep an eye out for that. Oh, and I love to see. I think Jerry Mitchell, I think when they did the AR-15 trigger, Jerry came out and was like kind of testing it out and seeing how much it improved him being the fastest finger alive as far as shooting. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna see a video from Jerry Mitchell shooting an AK with this trigger on there pretty soon. Mark my words. So once again, that's TacConUSA.com if you're interested in that. $350. Pretty nice deal. If you can get an AK for the same price, that'd be even awesome. But it'd be even better. But I don't think you can find any that low anymore. So the next product is just as tactical, but it has nothing to do with the AR-15 or AK-47, other than the fact that it's got some Picatinny rails on it. This is the Scorpion Evo 3 S1. And if none of that made sense to you, I apologize. But the Scorpion has a pretty history going way back. It was chambered in like 32 ACP and was like the smallest submachine gun. It was made one of the countries in the Eastern Bloc. I should remember. I can't. The name's slipping me. It's like Czechoslovakia or somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So it was a pretty small gun. And it had a folding stock on there. Yada yada yada. Well, the CZ Scorpion is like leaps and bounds ahead of it in design as far as modernization. If you don't know what that the Scorpion Evo looks like, just stop what you're doing, go downstairs, find the nearest child playing Call of Duty, and ask him to show you what the Scorpion Evo 3 looks like, because it's kind of a new gun that they're showing off a lot in video games is the Scorpion. It's chambered in 9mm, which is great. The original Scorpion was chambered in 32 ACP, and then they updated it shooting 9mm, which kind of increased its popularity. So now the Evo 3 it's got a semi-auto, full auto, and safety. It's got a selector on there. The S1 is just for us civilians here, and that's single fire only. And it looks like I was reading. I was actually listening to Colio Noir because he did a review on it and demo. It said it sounds like somebody went to CZ and CZ. So that is Czechoslovakia. So I got that right. Way to go. It looks like somebody from HK left the company HK, went to CZ and kind of brought them the plans to modernize the rifle platform using some features that are resembling HK products. Kind of like, hey, I helped design the MP5. Let me push the envelope for you guys. So it's got a safety selector that looks very much like an MP5 or an HK G3. It's got a short sight radius, iron sights on a full-length Picatinny rail, magazine fed. It's a sweet little I almost want to call it a PDW. So basically, it's a pistol, so there's no buttstock on there. So it's a little awkward. It looks a little awkward watching somebody shoot this thing as a pistol. However, you can get it with a adapter on there and the SIG arm brace, which still makes it a pistol, but then you can shoulder it, and man, that makes it look so fun to shoot.
Yeah, I with that SIG arm brace on there, I guess then you could consider it a PDW. And like you said, it looks so fun to shoot. I think that my son came in when I was watching the video, and he's like, I want one of those. I'm like, great. That's just exactly what I wanted to hear. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, I want one too.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the looks department down right, and it looks like it's got the functionality and the ergonomics down right too. However, the grip angle, just from looking at this profile picture of it, the grip angle looks pretty steep for something that you're holding way out there in front of you as a pistol. I think putting that SIG arm brace on there, still having a shorter length of pull, maybe that grip angle could have been a little bit more vertical to make it a little bit more comfortable. But other than that, though, everything looks great on this thing. It's got a 7 3/4-inch barrel. It's got low profile iron sights on there, and the rear sight has 4 different aperture sizes. So close quarters all the way out to shooting elongated ranges. Instead of 2 different aperture sizes, you have 4. The sights ride on a 11-inch Picatinny rail, so you can have plenty of space to put red dots, optics, scopes, ACOGs, whatever you want on there. So it is simple and reliable, and it does have ambidextrous controls, and then it's got a charging handle similar to the MP5 that's non-reciprocating and swappable to the other side. And the trigger is adjustable as well. So, and then it does have Picatinny rail running along the underside, kind of like a mini handguard, and the Scorpion is often shown with like a little attachment, like a hand stop, kind of like the Magpul XTM hand stop, but it's not Magpul. It looks like CZ makes that, puts that on there, and that kind of gives the Scorpion its signature look, I think. So the best part about this thing is the MSRP. It ain't that bad, folks. $849. That's it. Like, and that's MSRP. Street price, you should be under $800 for this. Now, if you were looking for like an MP5 clone, like from Atlantic Arms or something, I think you'd be higher. So not only does this have like the cool factor, but it has the, hey, you know, I'm kind of cheap, but that's a pretty dang good price for something that I can, you know, put that SIG brace on and shoot from the shoulder position, and then of course you can SBR it, and then you can buy their stock for it after that, and have a sweet little PDW for home defense or just fun at the range.
Yeah, I'm looking at it for fun at the range. You know, I guess in the video, because I couldn't find it anywhere else, it has 30-round magazines, and it said they're gonna MSRP for under $20. So I'm guessing $19.95. So you can't beat that deal either. $20 for a magazine for something like this.
I was just gonna ask if those are proprietary magazines, how expensive are they? But that's pretty good too.
That's what the video said, so I'm just going with it.
Yeah, these are going to be popular. I can already see that now. I haven't seen anything about how to take these apart. I'm sure you could just YouTube that. But still, and it's got rails on the side if you wanted to add lasers or lights or anything. Pretty awesome, like futuristic looking and functional. You know, it's not like tactical garbage that somebody molded together. Because they saw it on some futuristic show. Like, this thing looks like it would be very functional and very fun to shoot.
Yeah.
So if you're go ahead.
I was gonna say it's probably the gun that they're using in the new Star Wars movie that comes out next year.
Yeah, probably. You know, out with the PS90s and in with these.
That's right.
As far as movies go. So if you want to take that look at that, go to cz-usa.com, look under products, and look for the CZ Scorpion Evo 3 S1 pistol. Yeah, and like I said, if you have a kid that plays Call of Duty, and you know they're old enough to own a handgun or whatnot, which is a pretty old Call of Duty player, if you show them one of these, they're gonna lose their mind because they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can get one of those, and it's only that much. Daddy, daddy, daddy. So,
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, if I see one at the gun shop, I have to hold it because that just looks too cool not to pick up and to tinker with a little bit.
I'm actually hoping that here in May that there's a machine gun shoot locally and it has a lot of dealers. I'm hoping somebody brings a full auto one to shoot.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, just because.
All right, so there's our products. Let's get right into the sponsor product spotlight. So Action Target sponsors the bandwidth for this podcast, and they're nice enough to give a 15% off discount code to our listeners. So if you use the code radio15 when you're on Action Target's website, which you can get to by clicking on one of the affiliate link banners on the firearmsinsider.tv website or going to firearmsinsider.tv/action target. So radio 15 and you get 15% off your order. And so this week I actually wanted to make sure, well, of course Christmas is still, we got a couple more episodes before Christmas comes, but people need to buy what their gifts for their loved ones now, or else it's going to get more difficult with just shipping times and things. So I think the best Christmas present that you can get from Action Target as far as price, value for your dollar, and just functionality and the range of the different users that would love to get it is the Rimfire spinning jack. For only 69 bucks MSRP, that's not even before you use the promo code Radio15. You get this awesome design that's really easy to use. It's a stake. You stake it into the ground. It's got like little foot pegs to help you drive it into the ground. And then it's got a blue spinning jack, a steel plate on top that sits into a little spindle. And every time you shoot it with your 22, on whether it's there's a circle and square plates that kind of come off the jack. Wherever you shoot it, it's going to start spinning. So it right away gives you feedback that, yeah, you've hit it. It adds some fun to it if maybe you're dueling. If I'm shooting circles and Chad's shooting squares, just kind of empty our 1022s at this thing, spinning it back and forth. Kind of hard to tell who's the winner, but you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Really easy design, really easy to transport. You just pull the jack straight off, pull the stake out of the ground, and load it in your truck or throw it in your car. You're good to go. Lightweight too, only 13 pounds. It's not like a 40 to 80 pound steel target system that would really give Santa a backache trying to lug that thing to the tree. I think this would be the best Christmas gift for you to get, especially for the kids, because most likely they've got 1022s or other 22 long rifle firearms, and this is specifically designed for the 22 long rifle caliber. So don't go shooting it with your AR. You will put holes in it. But yeah, I think it's great. It's the jack is made out of 1/4 inch AR-500 armor steel. The stand has a nice angle to it to deflect rounds and prevent any kind of splash pack toward the user. The recommended shooting distance is pretty short. It's 10 yards minimum. So you can shoot this thing from 10 yards pretty safely without worrying about getting hit by any lead bouncing back at you. The paddles, each of the panels on the jack are 2.5 inches wide, and this whole thing height-wise is only 41 inches tall. A little bit tall to stick under the tree, but it's pretty easy to ship too. It comes in 2 boxes usually. The jack comes in a box, and the stand comes in another skinnier box. The jack dimensions are 9 by 9. I would recommend this, definitely to anybody. If I had a kid and I was looking for shooting-related presents for them, and I've already gotten them a 1022, I would guaranteed be getting one of these for them for Christmas this year. And they've got some reviews on the site that are all pretty glowing, saying that they started out with just a 2-inch cheap spinner that they bought for $20, and between their shooting and whatnot, they've already just destroyed it. So they say getting this seems like it's going to last, much closer to a lifetime. That it's a blast. They took it to an outdoor range and had no trouble getting it secured to the ground and started shooting right away. The only thing is, depending on if it's like this time of year where it's really cold, you might have a hard time, getting it into the ground, because depending on the hardness of the ground, so you might want to look for some softer ground when you're driving this down with your foot. But it's really sturdy. The post is, so I think that you won't have much problems at all getting it in there. And it's not like the recoil from the 22 is going to send this thing toppling over anyway. So I don't think you have to get it into the ground all too deep if you're just doing a single range trip.
Yeah, you just see. I'm thinking maybe I should ask for this for Christmas for myself, not give it to my kids.
You know what? $69, man, and then 15% off that.
Yeah.
I think your kids should be able to afford that.
Exactly.
Depends on how much you're paying them.
They should buy me something.
There you go. We'll have them listen to this podcast, and Chad's kids, you want to go to Action Target's website and get him the spinning jack rimfire target.
That's right, and they get to
Yeah,
use it too.
exactly. Help Santa out. He
That's
can't
it.
get everything that we want.
That's right.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, check that out. Go to the Action Target's website and look at the rimfire spinning jack. Also, click on the link in our show notes to get there. So, on to the main topic, panel discussion of our Firearms Insider reviews. Um,
Hey, hey, hey.
I usually make you go first. You probably want me to go first, don't you?
I really don't care, so yeah, you can go first.
All right, I'll go first. So this one I got specifically for you guys to review something that would make a perfect stocking stuffer for the loved one in your life, the man, the woman, your grandma, basically anyone that you would like to give them a utilitarian stocking stuffer that's kind of tactical but very useful. And I'm wearing it right now, but you can't see it. And it's a SOG, so SOG snarl knife. So I've actually got it around my neck, and it was tucked in my sweatshirt. So this is a pretty much a concealable fixed blade knife. So let me pull it out, and it's a sheep's foot design, or I guess it looks like a hoof. It's very compact, and it's got 2 finger holes, and then it's got kind of like a half of a finger hole on the outside, and this facilitates left or right hand and also holding it in different positions. So right away when you're pulling it out of the little sheath, you've got 2 fingers in there for a nice secured grip, and you can hold it in a multiple ways. You could use this half hole to rest your middle finger and support. You can have it just on the tips of your fingers, or you can have it farther down in your hand so that you can make a fist and hold it really more firmly in your hand. They call this a tactical tool, or it's in their tactical line. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it that because it's really small. This is my hand. This is the knife. It kind of gives you an idea. I don't have a banana for scale, but it's a really small knife. I've got the box here that it came in. As soon as I saw this on the shelf at Bass Pro, which was their grand opening, it found its way in my shopping cart almost immediately because I was like, man, that'd be great to bring on the show, and then also I could use it like a heck of a lot because it always seems like I used to carry knives a lot, like pocket knives, and I always seem to lose them. Like every year I lose a pocket knife. Either someone borrows it, never gives it back, or the opening and closing mechanism on it breaks, so it finds its way into the junk drawer. So I thought a nice fixed blade knife that would stay sharp and be something that could easily carry on me like more often. And it wouldn't be something I can just throw into my pocket and leave in my pants. It'd be something that at the end of the day, you take out your inside the waistband holster and your pistol, and then you can take off your concealed everyday carry knife. And of course, the coolest thing is you can put your finger in it and spin around and try not to cut yourself. So the blade length is 2.3 inches, and it only weighs less than 2 ounces at 1.9. The overall length of the whole thing from tip to the edge of the handle is 4.3 inches. The blade steel is made out of 9CR18 MOV, it's like a stainless steel that has a satin finish on it, and then it's CNC'd, and it's actually designed by this knife maker named Jason Brous, Brous, and he's kind of more famous for his functional fantasy knife designs, kind of getting a little crazy with the CNC machine. Some cool stuff. So obviously the inspiration for this kind of came from brass knuckles, having little finger holes to put your fingers into for better manipulation of the tool. Um, Basically, he designed something pretty small, but functional still, and something that could be mass produced by SOG. And I mean, they're selling SOG gear at Walmart now, or at least my Walmart. So these things they look custom, but they're cranking these dudes out. And that means the price point is actually pretty good. So the MSRP on this guy is $55, but you can pick it up retail for about $32.99. The low 30s. Which if this knife actually costed $55, I would not have got it. But for just over 30, I thought it was a pretty dandy little knife to have. Of course, it comes with this sheath, which you can obviously, it comes with a like a ball necklace. Kind of like I don't know what you call this kind of necklace. That's the kind that we've had since kids. Just the traditional like GI ball necklace, but it's got like a black coating around it. And you can run it through one of the holes in the holster or the sheath and hang it from your neck, which is great for that. If you are in a professional setting, or you don't have any pockets or belt loops or even a belt on your pants, if you're not wearing pants, you can essentially have this wrapped around your neck underneath your clothes and have a knife with you. Really handy. For hunting, you guaranteed I'm going to have this thing on me, because I think it would make a sweet little knife for field dressing. Not too big and unwieldy, still has a nice sharp point. Be able to do a little bit of skinning, but mostly just getting up in there and dressing the animal. It looks like it'd be really handy for that, and I'm looking forward to using it next year for that purpose. And then, of course, you can hang it from your neck. So when you're doing whatever you're doing, whether you're cutting boxes or cleaning out a deer or fish or whatnot, when you need both hands, instead of setting the knife down and possibly losing it, you can just snap it back into the holster or the sheath, and it's got really good retention. It snaps in there really positively, and then just it hangs around your neck, and it's there when you need it. Or alternatively, it comes with a little belt loop. It's very much like the belt loops you'll find on like the cheapest Uncle Mike's holsters, which I know a lot of people just like shuddered in their chairs right now. I don't really like these belt clips, man. They, yeah, they work, but this knife will slide around depending on just how like thick your belt is. So I have to get this around my belt and the waistband of my pants in order to give it kind of enough thickness and friction to where this doesn't want to slide back and forth on my belt when I'm going for it, or just going about my day. And then of course, like because it's sliding around, I have to put it like behind like an actual belt loop, so that when I put my two fingers in the knife and then draw it, it kind of catches that belt loop and then will release the knife. So that's kind of, I wish that they made this a little bit more secure. It's also really easy to just lift up and off my belt. I feel like it should be a little bit more difficult to get off my belt than just like simply. I can just, like, I'm pretending to draw but lift up and it comes straight off with the sheath. So I wish that was designed a little bit better, but it was obviously designed to maximize the production, make cheap and effective. Effective being the arguable word there. So yeah, you can use this as a box cutter, a skinning knife, a scraper, because it's got this flat blade on there. If you need to scrape some gunk off glass or something like that, it would work very well for that as well. And then I guess you could consider it a self-defense blade. However, because of its diminutive size, you're not going to be intimidating any assailants at all. So, you're not going to have a Crocodile Dundee. You call that a knife? This is a knife. You're not going to have one of those moments. This knife is meant to, like, stay concealed, and if you have to use it to defend yourself, get really up close, and then draw this thing, and it's going to be nasty. You can punch somebody with this like firmly in your hand still. punch, slash, stab. I wouldn't recommend using this like brass knuckles. You see how I wrap my middle finger over this little loop, and it kind of, we used to call this giving somebody the frog back in the day. You hit them with your knuckle right there, and it kind of makes their arm go numb. If you hit somebody like that, you're going to hurt your hand if you hit them hard enough. It's not really comfortable for hitting people like this. However, you can hold it in multiple ways. You can run this to where your pinky and your other finger, your ring finger, are on the end there. So kind of more of a swinging, uppercutting motion. Yeah, I'm not a knife fighter. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a knife fighter. So yeah, I can tell that it's capable of doing that, but you've only got that much blade to work with. So you better be super up close, uncomfortably up close to the assailant to use this thing. So I think if you're more interested in getting a knife just for self-defense use, maybe you can't own a gun, or having a gun for self-defense is very restrictive where you are, I would get a better knife. I'd get a bigger knife. SOG makes lots of knives that are bigger. If you don't want to go with SOG, get like a K-bar or like a more traditional boot knife. This is kind of meant more for like an all-purpose concealable, so you carry around with you more often blade. So I think that a lot of people, like preppers and survivalists, they really like having a neck knife because it's always there, and you can have it unseen, and it's really easy to kind of reach up under your shirt and pull this thing down, and it's not like more of a drastic motion than like trying to draw a gun or whatnot. So I've read a couple reviews where people really praise this knife for it being able to be a neck knife. See what else. It's pretty concealable when you get it on your belt loop. The clip only lets it ride in the horizontal position, so you can't, even though you can reverse this belt loop so that it can go on the left side of your waist instead of the right, for lefties and righties out there. You can't orient it to where it holds the blade like vertically, which is kind of a bummer. I wish that was part of the design, in case you didn't want your knife riding horizontally the whole time. It's easy to draw because your hand hangs low and you can get your fingers in these two holes and then just pull forward as opposed to up. So I kind of wish that you could do that with it as well. For the price point, I think it's a really nice knife, great stocking stuffer. I think it's more at home stuffed in the Christmas stocking than in the bug out bag, but it would still work for that. It's always handy to have a backup knife, even if this isn't your primary knife. If it's your secondary, your backup knife, it'd be great for that. The finger holes make it so that if you're actually if you're doing something like an actual cutting motion, or you're kind of in a self-defense situation, it's not going to come out of your hands very easy because you've got your fingers inside of it. So it's not something that somebody can disarm you from very easily. So I think it's just great overall for the EDC, everyday carry lifestyle. So getting right into the Firearms Insider 8 key points claim to fame is, I actually have the wrong claim to fame on there. But it's the snarl can be worn on the neck or belt for discreet carry and features a 9CR18 MOV stainless steel blade. The target market is everyday carry, concealed carriers, and then I would also say outdoorsmen, fishing, hunting, and camping. If you're a fisherman and you're tying lines, this would be a great little tool for cutting lines or whatnot, or also cleaning fish. And then also, being able to hang it from your neck, less likely to drop it into the drink and never get it again. Features and benefits, I already mentioned the quality of steel numerous times. It's not the best steel out there, but it's pretty good grade. The satin finish on it is really nice. Kind of stays clean, easy to clean if it's got like some light, oils or blood or whatever you're working with. If it gets dirty, it's easy to clean. The sheep's foot design kind of helps with multiple rolls and holding it in different ways. And the back of the spine I didn't mention. It's got these. I think they call it jimping, but it's just like slide serrations on a pistol. It's got 14 lines across the spine that kind of help with. That's right where your thumb goes, and aids in gripping. It's got a hardness scale, a Rockwell scale of 58 to 60. The overall length, like I already said, 4.3. The blade length, 2.3, and it's under 2 ounces in weight. So there's no other aesthetic options. I wish it was available in like anodized black, but it's not. What others are saying, I found 2 pretty good reviews that kind of pointed out my concerns with the knife and then the things I like about the knife. These are both from Amazon. The first one is, I was pretty excited to receive this SOG Browse collaboration. It's a solid little knife, thick piece of steel, and feels like it could take a beating. The sheath has good retention and easy clips onto your belt. The included clip only supports horizontal carry. Maybe a small tech lock would provide other options, although I'm not sure about that. Despite liking the knife, I just can't get used to it. I know this is a very popular Brose design, but I just can't figure out a way for me to hold the knife comfortably. I've tried various grips, but I don't feel as if I have control of the blade with any of them. I have pretty regular sized hands, but whatever I do, it just feels pretty awkward. And that is something that I will put out there as a disclaimer is, yeah, you might find this blade uncomfortable. It might look deceivingly comfortable as I'm kind of twirling it around and trying different positions here. For long-term use, it might actually cause hand fatigue because you're kind of curling your hand in a position and all your fingers, and so you might start to feel it right in the palm of your hand after using this for long periods of time. So it's kind of not meant for, I would say, like long-term continuous repetitive use just because your hand is kind of curling up into a ball when you're using it. The second review also comes from Amazon, and it says, the blade comes a little dull. I intentionally dulled it even more with wrapping/burning 550 cord around the rear finger hole. Reason being, this knife is more of a high-stress weapon. This is meant to be used in conjunction with gross motor skills, i.e. punching, jabbing, nice, nasty up-close inside fighting. Considering the draw and striking style used, I could see me cutting my middle finger, so I dulled it down. I wouldn't dare do this to the other knife that he has, the Silent Soldier 2, but hey, this is only $30. Pros, awesome sheath, very secure, quality, steel. Cons, potential weak point at the base of the blade, which should be beveled outwards, and the stealth clip can only be mounted for side draw, which I love, but some wouldn't. And it actually is a very good point. If you see where I'm pointing, right at the base of the blade here, we get a good angle. It's actually really thin. The connection between this and the handle or this finger hole, it's like a very small spot where this metal is connected in comparison to the thickness of the rest of the blade. I guess for like a neck knife, this is actually pretty thick of a bar. So it's got this thin spot right here, which seems like if you were to use this in any kind of prying motion, that would be the weak point, other than, of course, the tip of the knife is going to break if you're using it to pry. But right here seems like it's a fracture point to where it's just, you've got a large piece of steel here and a small piece of steel, and they're kind of connected together right there. It's almost like they CNC'd a little bit too much out of it. Now, I understand why they did that, because it's part of the design for sheathing this, is when you put it into the sheath, that little shelf ledge catches right there. And actually, it's not really catching anything, but it's just that's where it flushes up with the sheath itself. But I still think that there's plenty of room for them to have tapered it. Go from this thickness and then taper it down to a little bit thinner till it gets to the thinness of this blade face here. The other thing is on these finger holes, it's got a beveled edge on 100% of the rear one, but not 100% of the front one. Actually, where that finger hole is actually meeting the blade, there is no beveled edge there. So it's actually kind of sharp. So if you were to really use this thing hard and you had your finger jammed away in there, you would definitely start to damage your skin because there's no beveling on this edge right here. You could fix that with a Dremel if you really wanted to. That's up to you. So those are just two cons that I kind of noticed while using this knife. So I already mentioned the MSRP is $55. You can get it for just over $30 at various stores. I bet Walmart and some places would carry this. Like I said, I got this at a Bass Pro Shops. I need it now. Availability, you can get it on Amazon for that $32.99 price. And if you go to the show notes of this review, the affiliate links are in there. So we'd really appreciate it if you use those. So and then, of course, you can get this in stores at other SOG retailers. So my rating, I gave this thing a solid 7. As much as I like it, there's kind of too many flaws in it that, kept it from getting a better score. So for the pros, the versatility, designed to be held in multiple ways and carried in multiple ways, and it's praised as a really good neck knife. The blade edge has held up pretty well. I've been cutting some cardboard and some foam core, some plastic packaging like oyster shell packaging, and those things are kind of hard on at least the blades I usually use for those. And it seems like the edge has held up okay, pretty well. It did come out of the box kind of dull. I just honed it a little bit with a diamond sharpener, and it seems to be holding up pretty well. The thickness of the spine adds to the durability and controllability of the knife and help make up for its short overall length. So it is kind of pretty robust. And the sheath has good retention and is reversible for lefties and righties. When returning the knife to the sheath, especially when this is clipped to your hip, it's going to take a long time for you to kind of get the muscle memory down. Just because it's curved, you have to kind of get like the blade and follow the curve in. You can't really go straight in. It kind of gets hung up. And of course you want to make sure that none of your hands are anywhere near the blade when you're sheathing, because I definitely got a couple close shaves on my fingertips when I was playing with this thing and trying to get the wreath sheathing down pat. So cons, I gave it a negative for, I kind of wish there was a black finish option so it'd be more concealable than shiny metal. The short grip area and medium finger holes may prevent use from larger handed users or cause hand fatigue after continuous use. I mentioned that weak point where the metal thins out at the bottom of the blade, and the edge of the finger holes that might need a little bit more dehorning or beveling, just so it doesn't cut into your skin. And I didn't like how the sheath was limited to just side horizontal carrying for side draw. And the belt clip doesn't really secure all that great to the belt and is easy to come off or slide around. So I gave it kind of negatives for all that, which contributed to the 7.0, which is still a good rating. It just this easily could have been an 8.5 or a 9 if it just didn't have those flaws. So that is my review. And I seem to have lost Chad. I'm not sure how I managed to do that. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't get him back in here. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and kind of skip forward and talk about the Tech Gadgeter app until maybe he pops back in here. For whatever reason, maybe his internet dropped out. So the Tech Gadgeter app for this week is actually, I kind of chose it specifically for Chad because last week he mentioned something about a scope that I asked what kind of innovation as far as products he'd really like to have, and it could be real or fake, or it could be an existing product. And he mentioned he'd like a scope that was able to change magnification power at just like the flick of a switch, as opposed to having to turn a ring or whatnot. And so I actually mentioned to him that I read that there was a breakthrough, or some kind of scientific labs was working on something. So the Sandia National Labs have been working on an innovation. They call it the RAZAR, RAZAR. And what it is, it's a scope that provides push button magnification. RAZAR is an acronym, stands for Rapid Adaptive Zoom for Assault Rifles. So by the push of a button, it can toggle between high and low magnifications, allowing soldiers, or hopefully in the future when it's available to us lowly peasants, civilians, the ability to zoom in without having to remove their eyes from their targets or the hands from their rifles. So it would be like on an AR-15, you've got your quad rail. The actuation button would be like right at the end of your quad rail, easily within reach of your hand. So that's kind of the driving idea that they were after, and how they accomplish this is by kind of designing a scope that works kind of like the human eye, whereas traditional scopes, when you zoom in, the distance between the lenses changes, slides in and out. This scope actually has kind of a pneumatic plunger type system where there's like a lens, like a polycarbonate lens, that actually can lengthen when you press the button. So there's almost like the air pressure inside the tube kind of makes the polycarbonate lens bulge out and increasing the focal length, which changes the zoom, exactly like the human eye works, where the muscles cause that lens to kind of bulge out more, and you can see a little bit farther as far as your focus. So they've designed this into a scope. It's still in the prototype stages, but they've got a really nice video on it. If you want to go to their website, I've got the link in the show notes for you to look at that. So it's adaptive zoom, and it accomplishes true optical zoom as opposed to digital zoom, by changing the focal length of 2 or more lenses in concert without normal mechanical motion, which reduces the size of the unit itself and the power requirements for the lens. So it does run on batteries, but you get like a remarkable amount of actuations per the battery life. So on 2 AA's, you'll be able to complete 10,000 actuations, which means you'll be able to hit that button, go back and forth between zooming 10,000 times on just 2 AA batteries, which is pretty nice. And of course, it doesn't appear to be a lit reticle or anything right now. And they actually show this thing placed in front of existing optics to kind of lengthen, almost like a magnifier, where magnifiers go behind the optic. Like if you saw like a like an EOTech, the magnifier goes behind it. This actually sits in front of the scope. So in their demos or their 3D CAD samples, they show this like in front of an ACOG scope, or in front of the loopholed hammer, and then I think I saw it in front of another scope as well. So there's no word on the price yet for it. It's probably going to be ridiculously expensive because it's such like a game-changing concept, and kind of you have to pay to play when it comes to brand new tech. But hopefully in like 10 years, this will be like the norm for scopes, and it'll be more available for the civilian market. So no more turning magnification rings or having to use quick throw levers. You'll be able to toggle back and forth very quickly. As far as their prototypes go, the magnification levels, I didn't see specifications on how much zoom they're talking with. I think they're talking about going, there's a couple different levels of zoom that I saw them achieve in the video, where you had almost like a 1 or 2 times. Actually, it was more like a 1 times, like an actual 1 times magnification, and then like I went to 4, and then maybe went to 8, and then maybe 12 or 14. Just by, you've got 2 buttons forward and back, pretty much. So you can jump between 1 to 4 and hit the forward button twice to jump 2 more levels, and vice versa. So it's really boasted as it's going to be significant for the military market because speed and ease of use. Basically you can put this on an M4 or M16 and give the average infantryman kind of more of a magnified option, be able to engage targets at a farther range, and then very quickly get back to engaging targets closer up. So it would be kind of interesting to see how this plays into the designated marksman role. So if you're interested in that, click on the link in the show notes. It's Sandia National Laboratories, and it's called the RAZAR, RAZAR. So I did get a note from Chad. He said something came up. He had to go. It's probably kid related. Once they get too quiet, you got to be worried because that means they're up to something. So he left. He was going to review the LOK, the Loke 1911 grips. I don't think he'll be able to make it. So you can always check out that review on the Firearms Insider website, firearmsinsider.tv. And I'm sure when he comes on next week or the next time he's on, he'll talk about those grips on the air. They are pretty sweet 1911 grips, I'll have to admit. But all's well and good. The show goes on to listener feedback. We have a review from Piskin S. I believe that's a reference to Snake Plissken. It's a great movie. He said, been listening to Gun Guy Radio and heard a reference to this podcast from a previous episode. Hilariously informative, episode 57, and great honest reviews, though some can't help to hear some biased opinions. Of course he has to listen to one of the few episodes that we were super biased right out the gate, but we deserve that. But hey, we're all only human. He says, if you are looking for clarifying criticism on gear and arms that you are having trouble deciding on, give the show a listen. Ryan Cross is great, and his guests he has on the show or on the air are entertaining and insightful. And that was a 4-star review. I really appreciate that. Thanks for that review. That's kind of our mantra that we're really trying to stick to, is being unbiased. I made a big, long-winded apology, not really apology, but justification for when we just slandered the Taurus curve right out the gate without really explaining it first, and then maybe asking Sam and Nick from the Practically Tactical podcast their opinions. Of course, they come on my show, and then I start getting hate mail. But hey, at least I know my email works now, because it definitely got some stuff in after that episode. So thanks for that awesome review. We're plugging the Reloading podcast this week. Make sure you go to www.reloadingpodcast.com to give that show a listen. If you're new to reloading, a veteran to reloading, or you are just cracking the surface, you're just barely interested in rolling your own bullets, make sure you listen to this podcast, man. It's Mike from the podcast. He's really great. And then he also has on some other guests that are very knowledgeable in reloading as well. Jim Fleming from Facebook's The Reloading Room has been on there a couple times. But Mike knows a thing or two himself. So make sure you listen to that podcast. One thing you learn about reloading is that you can never have too much information, because it's all about safety, getting the most accuracy out of your loads that you're developing, and then also being safe. I don't know if I mentioned safe being number one, but it's number one and number three. Safety is the prime directive, and then also being efficient and having fun and saving money. So reloadingpodcast.com, that's the podcast you need to listen to and subscribe to. That's actually one of the few podcasts that I try and still listen to on a regular basis, because I always learn a thing or two. So, excuse me. In conclusion, send questions or comments to myself, cross@firearmsradio.tv, or podcast@firearmsinsider.tv. Remember to subscribe and leave us an iTunes review, especially in the future if you want to win some of the gear that we're giving away. Check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at www.firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And be sure to visit the Firearms Insider website for future reviews and industry coverage. Thank you again for joining me. Again, I'm sorry Chad couldn't made it all the way through the show. You probably got really tired of listening to me talk. As you can tell, my voice is already starting to go up in a couple octaves. It sounds a little funny. But anyway, have a great week. Shoot safe, stay warm, and I will catch you guys in the next episode and bring you some more gift ideas for Christmas. Hopefully to bring you some more good stuff next week. So have a great one. Catch you guys later.